It was the kind of cruel joke life loved to play. The test didn't lie. 2 pink lines. Clear, sharp, undeniable. I was 24, a medical intern running on caffeine and misplaced confidence. And I had never even held someone's hand with meaning, let alone imagined being tangled in a story like this. Yet there I was, staring at a pregnancy test on the table, while my world threatened to split in half. And across from me stood him, Noah Carter, senior resident. Brilliant, infuriating, impossibly magnetic. He had been my rival, my mentor, my tormentor sometimes all in the same day. And now he was the only one who knew the secret that could destroy me. "Ethan," he said quietly, his voice low enough to hush the chaos in my chest. "We'll figure this out." But how do you figure out something that shouldn't even exist? Pregnancy. Between us. 2 men. The hospital around us buzzed like a sleepless city. Stretchers wheeled past. Nurses barked updates. Monitors screamed. But inside that tiny break room, the air was thick, suffocating, and heartbreakingly intimate. My pulse wouldn't calm down. My hands shook as if the ground under me was giving way. This isn't possible," I whispered, my throat raw, my voice breaking. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to collapse. "It has to be wrong." Noah's eyes didn't leave mine. They were steady, fierce, the kind of eyes that had seen death and refused to blink. He reached out hesitant, almost painfully slow, and touched the back of my hand. My skin burned under his warmth. "Ethan," he repeated, softer this time. "Look at me." I did, and for the first time since I'd met him, I didn't see my arrogant superior, the man who loved to point out every mistake I made in front of the entire ward. I saw someone terrified too. Someone who, against all reason, cared. The truth was brutal. The truth was simple. I had gotten myself into something I didn't understand. Something no textbook, no lecture, no white-coated professor could prepare me for. It had started months ago, in stolen glances and heated arguments that lingered too long, in hands brushing when passing charts, in late-night shifts that stretched until dawn, when exhaustion stripped us of defenses, and the silence between us was louder than words. We shouldn't have crossed the line, but we did. One night, in the on-call room, with the rain lashing against the window and both of us too tired to fight what was already burning. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. It was supposed to be a secret, a mistake tucked away in the dark. And yet here I was. "Do you regret it?" The question tumbled out of me before I could stop it. My voice was small, fragile, like I already knew the answer would destroy me. Noah froze. His jaw tightened. His eyes flickered with something I couldn't name: fear, maybe, or guilt. "I regret how hard this will make your life," he said finally. "But you? Us?" His hand squeezed mine. "Never." My chest cracked open. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until it escaped me in a trembling rush. Because here's the cruel irony. I had never loved anyone. Not once. Not in high school when my friends swapped stories of messy hookups. Not in college when love seemed to find everyone but me. I had convinced myself I was too busy, too focused, too broken. And now, for the first time, I wanted to believe in it. With him. With the man I wasn't supposed to want. With the man who looked at me like I was more than just the awkward, stubborn intern shadowing him in the hospital halls. But love wasn't supposed to come with consequences like this. The knock on the break room door jolted us both. A nurse poked her head in, eyes scanning the two of us far too quickly. "Dr. Carter, we need you in trauma 2. Another car accident." He straightened instantly, professionalism snapping into place like armor. But not before his thumb brushed against mine, lingering just long enough to tell me, "I'm here." When the door closed again, silence fell. Heavy, dangerous, full of words neither of us dared say. I looked at the test again. 2 pink lines. Still there. Still real. My hands curled into fists. "I don't know how to do this," I whispered. "I don't know how to be this." Noah's gaze softened, and for the first time in all the months I had known him, I saw him drop every wall he'd built. He leaned close, his forehead almost touching mine, his voice low enough that the world outside couldn't steal it away. "Then let me do it with you." And just like that, the fear didn't vanish. But it shifted. It became something else, something I hadn't dared to name until now. Hope. That night, When my shift ended and the city outside drowned in neon lights and distant sirens, I walked home with the weight of the world pressing on my chest. But Noah's words echoed louder than the fear. Let me do it with you. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel so alone. I wish I could say I slept that night. But the truth is, I stared at the ceiling until dawn, my body frozen, my mind replaying every second of what had happened. 2 lines. 2 pink lines. And Noah's voice steady, calm, promising me I wasn't alone. My apartment was barely more than a shoebox with peeling paint and a mattress that remembered every sleepless night I'd ever had. I sat up, my knees pulled to my chest, clutching a pillow like it could shield me from reality. The city outside was alive, sirens wailing, horns blaring, but inside, it was just me and the suffocating silence of what came next. The hospital swallowed me whole the next morning. Bright lights, sharp antiseptic smells, the non-stop rush of patients bleeding, screaming, begging. Normally, the chaos was a shield that drowned out my thoughts, kept me too busy to spiral. But not today, because everywhere I turned, he was there. Noah, commanding in trauma, calm in chaos, a presence that pulled me like gravity, even when I wanted to run in the opposite direction. Our eyes met across the ER once, just for a second, quick, fleeting, but it was enough. Enough to set fire under my skin. Enough to remind me of the truth neither of us could afford to say out loud. During lunch, I escaped to the rooftop. It was one of the few places in the hospital where I could breathe. The sky stretched above me, gray and heavy, promising rain. I leaned against the railing, trying to convince myself I could still be the person I had been yesterday before the test, before the weight of something impossible crashed over me. But I wasn't alone for long. Skipping meals isn't going to help. Noah's voice came from behind me. I turned, startled. He stood there, tie loosened, stethoscope hanging around his neck, hair tousled from the storm of the ER. He looked less like the untouchable senior resident and more like a man. A man who knew exactly what kind of hell I was living. "I'm not hungry," I muttered. "That's not an excuse." He stepped closer, his tone softer now, stripped of authority. "Ethan, you need to take care of yourself." I laughed, bitter and sharp. Take care of myself? Noah, I don't even know what's happening to me. How do you expect me to take care of anything? For a moment, neither of us spoke. The city roared beneath us, cars crawling through crowded streets. Life marching forward like it wasn't collapsing for me. Noah leaned against the railing beside me, close enough that his shoulder brushed mine. The contact was electric, grounding. "You don't have to do this alone," he said finally. "Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, we'll face it together." "Why?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. My throat tightened, my chest ached. "Why would you risk everything for me?" His eyes met mine, steady and unflinching. "Because I care about you." My breath caught. The words were simple, too simple, but they cracked something inside me that had been locked for years. Caring wasn't supposed to feel this dangerous, but it did. The rest of the week blurred. Days bled into nights, exhaustion wrapped around me like a noose, and still, the secret pulsed beneath my skin. Every time Noah's hand brushed mine, every time his gaze lingered a second too long, the walls I had built threatened to crumble. And yet I couldn't tell anyone. Not my fellow interns, who were too busy gossiping about hookups in supply closets. Not my parents, who already thought my choice to go into medicine was reckless. Not even myself when I stood in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. Because what would they see? A mistake. A scandal. A shame. It happened on Friday night, during a brutal shift that felt like it would never end. The ER was drowning in chaos, car crashes, overdoses, a stabbing. My hands shook from fatigue as I stitched a boy's arm, his blood warm on my gloves, his tears hot on my skin. Noah was there, moving like a storm, commanding, saving, unstoppable. But every time he looked at me, his eyes softened. When the chaos finally ebbed, we found ourselves alone in the on-call room. My body ached, my mind was numb, and yet my heart pounded like it wanted out of my chest. "You're burning out," Noah said quietly, his gaze scanning me like he could diagnose every fracture inside me. "I'm fine," I lied. "No, you're not." He stepped closer, his hand reaching for mine, hesitant, then firm. Ethan, talk to me. And maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was the way his voice cracked on my name. But the words poured out of me before I could stop them. I'm scared. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then his hand squeezed mine, grounding me. So am I. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was him. But the next moment, his lips were on mine. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was soft, so unbearably soft, like he was afraid I might break if he pressed harder. My chest ached with the weight of it, the wrongness, the beauty, the impossibility. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, the room spun. This is insane, I whispered. Yeah, he said, a small, crooked smile tugging at his lips. But it's real. And for the first time in days, I let myself believe him. But reality wasn't kind. Reality didn't care about stolen kisses or whispered promises. Because the very next morning, the rumor mill in the hospital began to churn. A nurse had seen us leaving the on-call room together. Another claimed she noticed Noah's hand on my back a little too long. Whispers followed me down the hall. Stares lingered, and I felt the walls closing in. Noah noticed too. His jaw tightened, his shoulders squared, his mask of professionalism locking back into place. But when we passed each other in the corridor, his fingers brushed mine quick, hidden, desperate. It was enough to remind me, we weren't done. We couldn't be. That night, rain slammed against the hospital windows, drowning the city in a storm. I found myself back on the rooftop, soaked, trembling, furious at the universe for giving me something I wanted so badly only to make it impossible. The door creaked open. Noah stepped out, umbrella in hand, his hair damp, his coat clinging to him. You'll catch pneumonia, he muttered, moving to cover me. I looked at him, my heart breaking and healing at the same time. Why does it have to be this hard? His eyes searched mine, and for once he didn't have an answer. Instead, he pulled me closer, his arms wrapping around me, shielding me from the storm. And for a moment, just one moment, I let myself believe that love, even in its messiest, most impossible form, was worth every risk. Rumors are like wildfire in a hospital. They spread fast, burn hot, and leave nothing untouched. By Monday morning, it felt like the entire staff had seen through me. Whispers trailed behind my back like shadows. Conversations hushed the moment I walked into the break room. Even the interns, me peers, my supposed allies, looked at me differently. Like they knew. Like they were just waiting for confirmation. It wasn't fair. It wasn't anyone's business. But fairness had nothing to do with it. I kept my head down, forcing myself to focus on charts, vitals, and the constant churn of emergencies. I thought if I just worked harder, longer, faster, maybe the gossip would dissolve into the noise. But it didn't. During rounds, a resident muttered something under his breath. Laughter followed. My ears burned, my stomach twisted. And when I glanced up, I caught a nurse staring at me with pity, like I was already broken beyond repair. Noah noticed. Of course he noticed. His jaw was tight, his shoulders squared, his voice clipped with authority. He barked at the team, shut down distractions, forced the ward back into line. But his anger wasn't really at them. It was at the situation, at the trap we were in, and maybe at himself. That night I avoided him. I couldn't bear the thought of his gaze, too soft, too knowing, too dangerous. I stayed late in pediatrics, pretending to review charts until the ward emptied out. The silence was deafening, but at least it was safe. At least it was mine. I thought I'd escaped, but when I pushed open the stairwell door, he was waiting. Noah leaned against the railing, arms crossed, eyes dark with something I couldn't name. Relief, frustration, longing, all of it colliding. Why are you hiding from me? He asked. My chest tightened. I'm not. You are. His voice was quiet, sharp. You won't even look at me. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. What do you want me to say? That everyone's talking about us? That they think I only got this internship because I'm sleeping with you? That I'm... Stop. His voice cut like a scalpel. He pushed off the railing, closing the distance between us until his presence consumed me. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe anyone anything. I shook my head, anger flaring hot in my chest. You don't get it. You're respected here. You're untouchable. I'm just an intern. They'll crucify me before they even look at you. And there it was, the truth I'd been choking on all week. For a long moment he didn't speak. His jaw worked, his fists clenched at his sides. Then, slowly, he lifted a hand, resting it against the wall just above my head. His body hovered close, his eyes burning into mine. "Let them talk," he said, each word low and deliberate. "Let them say what they want, because I know the truth. And you know it too." My pulse hammered. My hands shook. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to push him away, to protect the fragile walls I'd built. But I couldn't move, because in his eyes, I saw a thing I'd been too afraid to name. Love. It should have been enough. But it wasn't. The next morning, Dr. Harrison, the chief attending, called me into his office. His tone was professional, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. "Ethan," he began, lacing his fingers together. "There have been concerns raised about your performance. Whispers of favoritism. Do you understand what I'm saying?" My stomach dropped. I nodded mutely. He sighed. "This program is competitive. Ruthless, even. One misstep can cost you your future. I suggest you tread carefully." The warning was clear. Whatever this thing with Noah was, whatever fragile thread we'd built, it was hanging by a knife's edge. That night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I found him in the break room, leaning over a chart, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. "We need to stop," I blurted. His head snapped up, eyes narrowing. "What?" "The Susit's too dangerous. People are already talking. Harrison is watching me like a hawk. If I lose this internship, I lose everything." For a moment, silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then Noah stood, his chair scraping against the floor. He crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping just inches from me. "Do you really think I don't know what's at stake?" he asked, his voice low and raw. "Do you think I haven't considered the risks 1,000 times? Then why?" "Because I can't let you go," he said, his words breaking, his eyes fierce. "Because for the first time in years, I feel alive. And it's because of you." My breath hitched, my chest ached, and in that moment, I hated him for making me feel so much. Because he was right. The days blurred after that. Every shift was a battlefield between us, between the world, between the truth and the lies we told ourselves. We stole moments where we could. A lingering touch when passing instruments, a brush of shoulders in crowded halls, a shared glance across the ER. Tiny rebellions, fragile lifelines. But the storm was building. And deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before it broke. The breaking point came sooner than I expected. It was a Saturday night, the ER overflowing with chaos after a massive pileup on the freeway. Blood, screams, the metallic stench of death. It swallowed us whole. I was in the middle of suturing a young woman's abdomen when I heard it. "Interns like him don't last," someone muttered nearby. "Not when they're sleeping their way up." The words sliced through me. My hands froze. The needle slipped. The patient winced, crying out. "Ethan!" Noah's voice barked, sharp, commanding. He was at my side in an instant, steadying my shaking hands, guiding me through the rest of the procedure. His presence kept me anchored, but the damage was done. I wasn't just fighting rumors anymore. I was losing myself. When the chaos finally ebbed, I stormed out into the rain, my scrubs soaked within seconds. My chest heaved, my vision blurred with tears I refused to let fall. Noah found me, of course. He always did. "Ethan," no, my voice cracked. "Don't. You don't get to fix this. You don't get to make it okay." He flinched like I'd struck him, but I couldn't stop. "I'm drowning, Noah. Every look, every whisper, every doubt. I can't breathe. And you're the only thing keeping me alive. But you're also the reason I'm suffocating." The rain poured harder, drowning the silence between us. "I don't know if I can survive this," I whispered. And for the first time since I'd known him, Noah looked lost. He stepped forward, his hands trembling as they hovered near my face. He didn't touch me. "Not yet." "Then let me carry you," he said softly, desperately. "Let me take the weight, even if it breaks me." And in that moment, under the storm, I realized something terrifying. I loved him. I didn't want to. I couldn't afford to. But I did. And love, I was learning, was the most dangerous thing of all. The storm outside had calmed, But inside me, it still raged. Every step I took through the hospital felt like walking a tightrope above an abyss. Every whisper, every sidelong glance, every sudden silence when I entered a room, it all pressed down like a weight I couldn't shake. And then, the inevitable happened. Dr. Harrison summoned us both. Together, the office felt colder than usual, the blinds half drawn, the city's gray morning light spilling across his desk. He didn't waste time. "I know about you too," he said flatly. The words landed like a blow. My breath caught, my chest clenched, and for a second, I thought I might collapse. Noah didn't flinch. His shoulders squared, his jaw set. He looked every inch the man who had taught me how to hold a scalpel steady during chaos. "With all due respect, sir," Noah said, calm but firm, "my personal life is not the hospital's business." "Normally, no," Harrison replied coolly. "But when rumors spread, when questions of professionalism arise, when an intern's future is at risk, it becomes my business." His gaze shifted to me, sharp as glass. "You're bright, Ethan, but bright interns burn out fast. You want to survive here? You'll need to decide if you want to be remembered for your work or your scandal." For a long, suffocating moment, silence hung between us. My heart pounded. My palms sweated. I wanted to disappear, to rewind time, to undo every mistake. But then Noah spoke, steady and unshakable. "If you're looking for someone to blame," he said, "blame me. I was the one who crossed the line. Don't take it out on him." My head snapped toward him. "Noah," he didn't look at me. His eyes stayed locked on Harrison's, fierce and unyielding. Something inside me cracked. Because this wasn't just about rules or reputations anymore. It was about love. Real, terrifying, impossible love. We left the office in silence, the weight of Harrison's warning clinging to us like smoke. In the stairwell, I grabbed Noah's arm, forcing him to stop. "You can't do that," I hissed. "You can't just take the fall for me." His eyes softened, though his jaw stayed tight. "I'd burn my career to keep you safe." I shook my head, tears stinging my eyes. "That's not love, Noah. That's suicide." He cupped my face then, his thumb brushing my cheek, his touch both grounding and devastating. "Then what is love, Ethan? Because all I know is I'd rather lose everything than lose you." The days that followed were brutal. Whispers didn't fade, they grew louder. A nurse in pediatrics stopped speaking to me. A fellow intern muttered "golden boy" under his breath when I passed. But amid the wreckage, there were moments. Moments when Noah's hand brushed mine under a desk. Moments when I caught his gaze in a crowded hallway and knew, without words, that he was still there. Moments when the fear didn't win. And slowly, painfully, I began to realize something. I didn't regret it. Not him. Not us. Not even the firestorm we were trapped in. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving. I was living. The breaking point, the real one, came on another rain-soaked night. I was on call, exhausted, when I found him on the rooftop. He stood at the railing, his hair damp, his scrubs clinging to his body. The city stretched behind him, a blur of lights and rain. "I can't keep watching you get torn apart," he said, his voice rough. "I can't stand by while they rip your future from you. Noah, I've drafted my resignation." The words gutted me. I crossed the space between us, shoving the paper out of his hands, fury and fear colliding in my chest. "No, you don't get to do this. You don't get to throw away everything you've built, everything you are for me." His hands gripped my shoulders, hard, desperate. "Then tell me what I'm supposed to do, Ethan. Tell me how I'm supposed to love you without destroying you." The rain pounded harder, drenching us both. My voice shook as I whispered the truth I'd been too afraid to say. "You don't destroy me," I said. "You save me, every damn day. And I'm not letting you go." And just like that, something shifted. The fear didn't vanish. The whispers didn't stop. But they no longer defined us. We did. Weeks later, Harrison called me in again. But this time, the conversation was different. "Your work," he said, flipping through my evaluations, "is outstanding. You've shown resilience, adaptability, and more heart than most of your peers." He paused, looking up at me. "That's what matters. Don't waste it." I left his office trembling, but for the first time, it wasn't with fear. It was with relief. Months passed. The whispers dulled into background noise. The stares lost their sting. And somewhere along the way, Noah and I stopped hiding. It wasn't dramatic. There was no grand announcement, no sweeping declaration. Just small, quiet truths. Walking side by side without pulling apart. Eating together in the cafeteria without shame. Letting the world see what we had because it was real, and it was ours. And then came the morning when the sun finally broke through the storm. We stood on the rooftop at dawn. The city sprawled beneath us, the sky painted gold. My hand rested in his, steady and sure. For once there was no fear, no hiding, just us. I used to think I wasn't capable of this. I whispered. Love, wanting someone this much. It scared me. He turned to me, his eyes soft, his smile small and real. Still scared. I shook my head. Not anymore. Not with you. He leaned in, his forehead pressing against mine, the warmth of him seeping into every fracture I'd carried for years. And as the city woke around us, I knew with bone-deep certainty that this was it. Not a mistake, not a scandal, not an ending, but a beginning. Because love had found me where I least expected it, in the chaos, in the fear, in the impossible. And against all odds, I wasn't just a medical intern anymore. I was someone who had loved, been loved, and survived it. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.